the quorum call be suspended.
Without objection, so ordered. Senator from Illinois is recognized.
Mr. President, I speak with the consent of the Senator from Arizona who controls the time here. First of all, I want to commend my colleague from Arizona for showing incredible courage. What we need in this body is more people who have the fortitude to stand up and say what is in the best interest of this country. I have seen him do that time and time again in committee, and here he is doing it on the floor of this body, and I want him and everyone to know I'm proud to serve with him. 2 points the Senator from Arizona made just a little bit ago that I would like to repeat and then make a few other comments. First, the survey by the Oakland police that of the guns confiscated in the process of drug raids and so forth, 12% of those guns were obtained illegally. Let's not fool ourselves with this myth that if we pass this, it won't make any difference to the criminal element. The reality is it's going to make a difference. Perhaps not a huge difference, but a difference. And a huge difference to those families where needless death has occurred. Second, while it is not part of this bill, the proposal by the administration that the staff of BATF be cut by 185, that's not the direction we ought to be going if we're interested in law enforcement in this country. Now, will this bill, this amendment, solve all the problems we have? Absolutely not. No one pretends this. The real question, and I say this to my colleague from Idaho for whom I have great respect, the real question is, will this proposal that is in this bill, thanks to the Senator from Arizona, discourage proliferation? And I think the answer is it can. To what degree, we do not know, but let's give it a try. I have to say, as I approach various amendments on this floor, sometimes I consider a lot of them very gray. They're not clear-cut. This one, at least to the senator from Illinois, this one is clear-cut. This one is a question of whether we're going to provide greater safety for the people of our country. And I know the political liability. It is no secret that some of the people on my staff are urging me not to vote the way I just voted on the Metzenbaum amendment, and I'm voting on this one. But let's all recognize we're not going to be here forever. I just, a couple of hours ago, learned that my wife's brother died. You know, it makes you think about how long you're going to be around here. Whether it is death or an election or retirement, we're not going to be around here forever, and we ought to be thinking about what we can contribute. And I'd like to contribute something substantial. And in a small way, we can do it right here. 0.5% of the weapons of this country are the kind described in the DeConcini Amendment. And yet they're involved in about 30% of the crimes. Can we do better? Well, of course we can do better. They call one gun the street sweeper. Why do they call it the street sweeper? Is it because we can clean our gutters and get all the candy wrappers and Pepsi cans off the streets? Of course not. It is called a street sweeper because we can sweep the streets of people. That's the only purpose of that gun. Do we need to tolerate that in our society? I don't think so. I remember the testimony of the chief of police of Los Angeles, who described himself as a conservative Republican, who said that 60% of the people who are killed by these guns are innocent bystanders. But he said, if you don't do something to stop the proliferation of these weapons, I'm going to ask for these weapons for my police. And you know what's going to happen if I have to ask for them for my police? 60% of the people who are going to be killed are going to be innocent bystanders. Are we just going to have an endless arms race here? I hope we can do better. I had hoped, frankly, we could work out some kind of a compromise. I asked for a meeting with the officers of the National Rifle Association in my office, and they were there together with their counsel, for whom I have great respect. We all know him. But it was very clear when we met in my office, they weren't interested in any practical compromise because they felt they had the votes here to beat this kind of an amendment or any other amendment that comes up. And maybe they're right today. But I would just add, I've been in this business long enough to know that the pendulum swings from one side to the other. The coal industry in my state opposed to any acid rain legislation. I told them years ago, there's going to be acid rain legislation and you ought to be formulating it so that it is sensible, so that it doesn't hurt the Midwest. Well, they didn't want to have anything to do with that. They were going to resist all acid rain legislation. Well, you know what has happened. We've passed it and it hurts the Midwest. We're going to pass some, I don't know what's going to happen, but the Midwest is going to get hurt. And part of the reason is the coal industry in my state, in the Midwest, that didn't have the foresight to say, let's get a sensible compromise. And the National Rifle Association people who are unwilling to work out sensible compromises, they may well win today and tomorrow and the next day, but let me tell you, the danger is that pendulum is going to swing too far. I live in hunting territory down in southern Illinois. Our home, 12 acres, right next to the Shawnee National Forest. I see more deer than I do people most days. Last time I was home, saw 16 deer right near my place. I'm around hunters all the time. I want to defend the rights of hunters and responsible citizens to have guns. But that's not what this is about. That's not what this fight is about. This bill is not the answer to all the crime that we have in this country. There is no single answer, but this bill provides a part of the answer. And we ought to be willing to make that step. It takes a little bit of courage on our part. Not as much courage as the senator from Arizona has shown, but a little bit. And I hope we would have the courage to do it. We face the choice, and it is really a fairly simple choice. We face the choice of siding with the gun lobby or the law enforcement people. And my friends, in that choice, I'm going to stick with the law enforcement people. Mr. President, I ask unanimous, I'm going to ask for a quorum call, and I ask unanimous consent that the time under the quorum call not be charged to either side.
Without objection, so ordered, and the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Adams. Mr. Akaka. Mr. Armstrong.
I know that. I know.
Mr. Bacchus. Mr. Benson. Mr. Biden. Mr. Bingaman. Mr. Bond. Mr. Boschwitz. Mr. Bradley.